I'm Jordan Poole from the University of Michigan Basketball. You are watching TR Sports. Please enjoy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to TR Sports. I'm your host, Toby, and we're here for episode 7, I think, of the podcast, so our 7th week doing the show. And this is our rundown for today. We're going to start by talking about Game 1 of the NBA Finals, what we saw from it, what I think, my predictions, and how I felt about the play. Then we're going to talk about Houston and the rumors that were going on about Houston this week and what I think Houston has to do to contend next year. Then we're going to have a big segment of my MLB tier list. I'll be giving from the bottom feeders to the championship levels teams. So we'll be ranking championship level teams and bottom feeders on that tier list. Then we're going to talk about RJ Barrett, and we're going to talk about his draft profile and where I think he's going to go, how good of a prospect he is. And then finally, we have our team focus, and we're going to be doing the Dodgers and Cody Bellinger, who's having a monster season. So that is all on TR Sports today. So let's get into our first story, The Last Dance. The final game, the final 7 games of the NBA season. This decides who the champion is. The NBA Finals, this series is called. And this year, it's the Warriors versus Raptors, two great teams with great records throughout the whole season that have both had incredible playoff runs. One being a little tougher, with the Raptors taking the Orlando Magic to 5 games in the first round, then the second round taking the Sixers to 7, and then the third round swiftly taking down the Milwaukee Bucks in 6. The Warriors have had not too hard of a playoff run at all, beating the Clippers in 6, going on to beat the Portland Trailblazers in the conference finals. Now, these are two teams that have been ready all season for this moment, and that have been ready and built for this moment. But who will come out on top? So this segment, we're going to give my prediction for the Warriors-Raptors NBA Finals series, which Game 1 just happened on Thursday night, and Game 2 will be Sunday night at 8. So I don't know who won that yet, and you guys don't either when this comes out. So let's talk about Game 1 and what I thought about it. I expected better from the Warriors. I really felt like at times they were sleepwalking, and I was waiting for that moment like in the Trailblazers series where the Warriors just erupted and everything kind of like just poured out and they started dominating. That's not what happened, and this game is really worrying me about the Warriors' NBA Finals chances, because if you just look at the Warriors roster right now, they're not anything incredible. Draymond Green played 40 minutes with 10, 10, and 10, triple-double. But Draymond is not what he used to be on the court. That's just true. Can't shoot. Not a good offensive player, and brings a lot defensively. Iggy, 29 minutes, 6 points. Again, getting older. And last night, he could not hit shots, really. He took a bunch of threes, didn't make them. Your starting center only plays 12 minutes with 2 points. I really thought Jordan Bell would give a little more, but at the same time, I didn't see the Raptors giving him anything because you have Marc Gasol down low and Kawhi, and then Steph Curry with 34 and 40 minutes. I mean, pretty much does what he's expected to, but at times, it looks like Steph Curry was not trying to get into the lane or try to get an open shot. He was just trying to jack one up from 30 feet, which did not look good on the box score, and certainly did not help the Warriors winning. Klay Thompson with 21. The Warriors are gonna really win this series, and if they do, they're gonna need Klay, man. Klay has to get more than 21. Okay, he's a superstar, and if he was somewhere else, I believe he'd average like 27 a game, and we need that in this series. The Warriors do, because if they don't get it, I don't think they're gonna win. DeMarcus Cousins, 3 points in 8 minutes. I mean, he's coming off injury, of course. Let's see how it is. Jonas Jerebko, 6 points in 8 minutes. That's a fine outing. He did airball a 3, which was terrible looking, but he did get his points. Now here, look at the difference between the Raptors. So the Raptors put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players on the court. The Warriors put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So Raptors are going to stick with a shorter rotation, which if I told you that the Raptors would not have a lot of bench depth in a year, if I told you that like 2 years ago, you would not believe me. So, heavy minutes for Van Fleet, Danny Green, Kyle Lowry, Marcus Gasol, Pascal Siakam, and Kawhi Leonard. That is going to impact the next game. Of course, these Warriors had a lot of playing time too. So I don't know how this will affect both teams, but I feel like it's going to hit the Raptors a little bit harder because they gave a lot of minutes to a lot of players, while the Warriors just gave a lot of minutes to their top 3 guys. I feel like one of the reasons the Warriors lost Thursday night, I mean, if you look at all the shooting, pretty much the Warriors are neck and neck, except in field goal percentage where Warriors hit 43, Raptors hit 50. Warriors hit 38% of their three-pointers, Raptors hit 39, and then Warriors had a better free throw percentage. The Warriors out-rebounded the Raptors. They had more assists than the Raptors. They had the same amount of steals. They had 16 turnovers to the Raptors' 10. They had less points in the paint, and they have more personal fouls than the Raptors, 1 more. This is a pretty evenly matched statistical game. So what was it that led the Warriors to lose? And that answer, they just looked like when they would go down the offensive end, it looked like they didn't have a shot. It looked like they weren't going to get a shot. And I saw the same thing in Game 7 with the Sixers. They just could not get open. So the Warriors were taking either contested threes by Clay or a long, deep 30-footer from Curry, which is not going to work against this Raptors team. And this game really impressed me from the Raptors side. My question is, who's going to win the series? You know, the Warriors don't have Kevin Durant. If the Warriors had Kevin Durant, I would have this as a runaway. The Warriors would kill the Raptors. That's not the case. DeMarcus Cousins isn't full health. The bench isn't what it was a couple years ago, and Kevin Durant is injured. Of course, you have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond, but the question is, when will that stop being enough? And we might start seeing that in the next 2 years. The Warriors might not have enough to dominate the NBA. And at times, the Warriors always look like they're sleepwalking, and they never really wake up. So, what's my prediction for this NBA Finals? Prior to this game, I had the Warriors in 5, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to say the Warriors are going to win in 6. That's my prediction. The Raptors are going to put up a fight. I feel like the Raptors are going to lose tomorrow, Sunday night at home. They're going to lose that game. And then the Warriors are going to go on to win at home, so it'll be a 2-1 series. Win again, so it'll be 3-1. Raptors win another game. Warriors take final in 6. So that's my prediction for the series. We'll see if that's right. I would say 7, but I don't feel like I feel like this Warriors team would wake up before that 7th game and finish the series off eventually. Heck of a game Thursday. There was at times where the Warriors were just putrid. And I thought the Raptors stadium would eventually lose some energy and the Warriors were going to make some kind of run. But we never saw that. We never saw the point where the Warriors woke up and made a run. It was always Raptors by 10, by 9, by 8, by 6. It was always the Warriors never really took the lead in that kind of way. It was disappointing if I was a Warriors fan, especially. The Warriors did not play a Warriors game. And you're going to need more from Clay, and you're going to need more for Draymond if you want to win this series. Because at times, they're almost going too fast on the court. Sometimes I feel like it would be great if Steph Curry stopped at half court, slowed it down a little. Because when there's not shots, when shots are not falling and you're speeding across the court, and the Raptors are ready and anticipating you to run around the three-point line, maybe you should slow it down, look around, and find an open shot. Because if one thing's not working, if you're running around the court is not working and shots are not falling, you're going to have a backup strategy. And that's on Steve Kerr, because I feel like for the first time, Steve Kerr is going to have to make real adjustments. And when the Cavs made great adjustments in 2016, where they eventually beat the Warriors, Steve Kerr could not handle it. So let's see how Steve Kerr handles this. This will say a lot to his coaching. Of course, he's a 3-time NBA championship champion, so it doesn't really matter for him. But I'm interested to see what his adjustments are in the series and how his offense will change, because the offense will be different on Sunday night against the Raptors, and I have the Warriors taking that one again. So when we come back on TR Sports, we're going to be talking about the Houston Rockets, the rumors about the Rockets, and how I think what I think the Rockets should do to contend next year for a title, and that's on TR Sports. Welcome back to TR Sports. It is now time to talk about the Houston Rockets. So there were rumors about the Rockets this week, and this won't be too long of a segment because we have a really massive segment next about the tier list. But the Houston Rockets this week, there were a lot of rumors about them wanting to tear it down and wanting to trade James Harden, and Chris Paul not liking James Harden, and Chris Paul wanting to be traded. All this juicy stuff. And what do I think of all that? And well, I think it's possible. The Rockets are going to make big changes this offseason. They're going to have to. They're not going to be able to compete with teams like the Warriors next year if they keep the same core. Who do I think they should get rid of? What do I think is going to happen? So you have to try to get rid of Chris Paul, because Chris Paul is on the down end. You know Chris Paul's not going to have the season he's had last year. This year is already on the decline, and I think it could get ugly in the next 4 years. And, I feel like Chris Paul is the second least tradable player right now, because, number one, here are the things that make you untradeable. You make a big impact on a team. If you make a huge impact on a team and you're not that good, like Chris Paul, then you're not tradable. It's just, you're not tradable in a way that where you're not that good, but you're also going to take the ball the whole time. Another one is contract, and this one matters more than the control of the team one, because if you have that ability to control a team and you're always on the ball and everything, and plus you have a massive contract, nobody's going to want you. And the two prime examples I feel like that right now are number 2, Chris Paul, and number 1, John Wall. Nobody wants John Wall because he's going to be on the ball the whole time. He's going to play star ball. He's going to hog the ball and stuff. And he's going to pass, but he's going to be the primary ball handler. And he's injury prone, and he's got a massive contract. So that's what makes Chris Paul untradeable. Those two things, and plus he's injury prone, which doesn't help either. So that's my opinion. Chris Paul, you should try to get rid of. Do I think it's going to happen? No. James Harden, this one's a tough one. You kind of have to. I feel like if I'm the Rockets, I'm going to have to still try to build around James Harden. No, it hasn't worked, but you were at Game 7 of the conference finals a couple years ago. And I feel like this management thinks they could get back here with a couple changes, and I don't think those changes involve James Harden, even though I did see some trade rumors about him. Someone I do think they will and can trade is Clint Capella. Had a great season 2 years ago, still had a good season this year, but he could be a star, and then he was a star 2 years ago, and I feel like if you can get some really great bench players or assets or starter for Clint Capella, and I feel like the Rockets are definitely going to experiment with that. I think they're going to keep a lot of pieces too. Austin Rivers, I don't see him going anywhere. He had a great season. He really showed me that he could be a good bench player with the Rockets this year, and I was really happy for Austin. But yeah, that and PJ Tucker on the Rockets, I'm pretty sure he's going to be gone. They're not going to pay him. So this Rockets team's got a lot of big decisions to make this offseason. And I'm excited to see what they do, and I'm excited how they do next year, because all of the Rockets saga and stuff like that, it's really nice to watch unfold. And I love their offense, unlike a lot of people, and I love James Harden. I love watching them play. Offense, 7 seconds or less. I enjoy that style of basketball. So that is what I think the Houston Rockets should do. Okay, so next segment we will be talking about the MLB tier list. I'll be ranking the worst teams in the MLB, the bottom feeders, all the way to the top championship level teams on my MLB tier list. So that is next on TR Sports. Welcome back to TR Sports. It is now time to go to this MLB tier list. I made some graphics for this, so I'm going to put them on the screen. And I did forget one team. I forgot to put the Texas Rangers like an idiot on the thing, but I will tell you what tier they're in when we get there. And we're already there. So the Texas Rangers are a bottom feeder. This is my bottom feeder list. I'll talk a little bit about each team and why I put them there. Miami Marlins, they really, of course, they teared it down a couple years ago when Derek Jeter came. And at the time, I thought it was a good move. But now, I did not think Christian Yelich would be this good. So at one point in time, the Marlins had Jose Fernandez, who sadly died, Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich, Ozuna, D. Gordon, Justin Bour, JT Realmuto. That's a great, great team. And they could have had so much. But for some reason, it didn't work out, because if you think of what that Miami Marlins team could have been if everyone had stayed, it could have been something great, I feel. And would Christian Yelich turned out to be the same player? I don't know. But it's definitely interesting to think about, and I'm sure if Derek Jeter were to go back, he would not trade Christian Yelich. Next is the Orioles. There's not a lot to say about this team. They suck. They got Manny Machado left, and they really have nobody good. You got guys like Keon Broxton at the least that are able to play without any pressure and develop at the Orioles, but they're terrible. Maybe the worst team in the MLB. The Yankees have hit like Gleyber Torres by himself has hit like 11 homers against the Orioles this season, so that says a lot about that organization. Next is Kansas City Royals. Same kind of deal. They're just not very good. They tore it down a couple years ago. Salvador Perez is gone. They were a championship level team in 2015, and now they're bottom feeders. They're not very good, and they don't really have any pieces. And their pitching's not that good. Toronto Blue Jays probably have the brightest future on this list. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is supposed to be a superstar, and he's having a rough start, but that happens to a lot of guys. I'm sure he will pick it up later in the season, but he's shown flashes of greatness. They have a lot of guys coming up at the same time from the minors, like Big O's kid. And then you have some established veterans on the team, like Marcus Stroman, who is gonna do you right, and you also, so they're coming up. They have the brightest potential on this team here, but the Orioles do have the number one pick, and there is a consensus number one pick this year, even though I really don't know too much about that prospect. Detroit Tigers. I give you this. It's a fun team to watch. I don't really know too many of the players on the Tigers, so I'm not really going to talk about players I don't really know about. But I'm going to say I watched a couple games, Detroit Tigers games. They're a fun team to watch. They had a fall from grace when they traded a Verlander, and Prince Fielder went down, and Miguel Cabrera stopped being good. So the Tigers really fell from their high podium. So our next tier is okay but terrible teams. Teams that aren't really bottom feeders but are really, really terrible. Here we go. We're going to start with the Seattle Mariners. They had a great start. That's what I'm going to say. They hitting homers, great energy in the clubhouse, great looking team, great chemistry. Since then, have really fell. Have lost a bunch. They have like 27 wins or something like that as of Saturday, June 1st. But they really had a fall from grace. They're not that special. They're not a solid team. They're below average, which is okay but terrible. Next is Cincinnati Reds. I mean, they made a good trade, I feel, this offseason, acquiring Yasiel Puig. But other than that, nothing really great there. Joey Votto's getting old. Pitching's not that great. Have to get better. Have to get new talent. And I feel like they're going to start doing that in the next couple of years. And they're going to build off there. They're going to build off the core they have already. And I'm pretty sure they're going to keep Yasiel Puig. I'm pretty sure about it. And they have guys like Scooter Gennett, who have a lot of potential. Next, you have the Los Angeles Angels. And they still haven't fixed their bullpen and their starting rotation. It is terrible. That's all they need. They need to stop getting injured and fix their pitching. Shohei Ohtani, stay healthy. Stay healthy. You have Mike Trout. The Angels have Mike Trout, and they suck. They haven't made the playoffs with Mike Trout. It's terrible. They're really a bad team. And I might have put them in solid, but they're just so bad every year. And I'm frustrated for guys like Mike Trout who have to play for them. And I'm frustrated for the fans because this organization cannot seem to get a team together. Get a team together. You have guys like Albert Pujols who are literally doing nothing and walking to first base, who are making huge amounts of money. So really get your act together, Angels. It's really a poor season, I feel. I mean, the record doesn't show a poor season. They're like 500 or something. But you have to, at one point, get something together and make a run. And I don't feel like that's going to happen. And Mike Trout's stuck there for like 14 years. Giants, not much to say about this team. They had good pitching at one point, but Johnny Cueto started to get old. Madison Bumgarner's getting a little old. Rest of the team's not that interesting. Traded for Kevin Pillar, and he's had a good season for them. But really, all around, not that good. There's a lot of improvement, and they're the number one pick, I feel like, 2 years ago. Or number 2, number 1. I don't remember which one it is. I think it was number 2, actually. Because Casey Mize went number 1, and then the Giants picked someone number 2, and I don't remember who they picked. I mean, the Giants have potential. They're in a big market. I wouldn't be too worried if I was a Giants fan, especially after the great years you just had. Washington Nationals, the mess of the MLB, such a monstrosity. Like, they made all these moves in the offseason. They made all these, they tried to get all these players. And they have Patrick Corbin, who's having a fine season, but the team sucks. Anthony Rendon's having a good season. Juan Soto's not having the season we expected. Pitching has been terrible. Max Scherzer has been average. So I don't even know if Strasburg has even started a game this year. Get your act together, Washington. I guess Bryce Harper had a good idea to leave that team because they are the mess of the MLB right now. So that's the okay but terrible list. Yeah, that is the okay but terrible list. So next we have the solid teams, the solid tier. These are teams that are solid. I don't feel like they're gonna win a championship. Some of them will make the playoffs. So let's talk about it. I'm gonna start with the Tampa Bay Rays. I don't know how I feel about this pick. To be honest with you, they're fine. I guess it's a fine pick to be in solid. I feel like they're gonna have to slow down at one point. Maybe won't make the playoffs. If they're not gonna make the playoffs, probably won't put them in the potential slot. And there were other teams that I wanted to talk about there as potentials, but yes, I feel like they could be better than some potential teams. It's really a swap out between the potential tier and the solid tier. I mean, I did a whole team focus on them, have some interesting philosophies, had a really good defense, and have some good offense. And that's really what makes the Tampa Bay Rays special. So, the Pittsburgh Pirates, Josh Bell's having a crazy season, mashing the ball. Other than that, not that good. Trade for Chris Archer last year, hasn't gone as planned. And they're a solid team. They're nothing special. I mean, have some good pieces there. But do I think they're going to win a championship or make the playoffs? Definitely not. The Mets are a team that came out hot, were leading the NL East at one point, but really started to slow down. Lost a series against the Marlins, and at one point were 5 games under 500. Pitching's good, have a lot of potential there, but you need a couple new back-end starting rotation pieces. Field's pretty good, but you have to get your injuries together. You can't have like old Rajay Davis having to save you from a game, right? You're gonna need guys, and you're gonna have to pick it up. If I'm the Mets, I would fire Mickey Callaway at this point. He's not done what he was expected to, and I feel like the experiment with him is over. So that and you have to one more thing. You have to get Cespedes in order. Keeps getting injured. Stay in the game, please, please, please. I mean, it's ridiculous. He got injured on his ranch, the star Mets hitter, who hasn't played for like 2 years at this point. Oakland A's. Great season last year. I was sad to see how it ended in the wild card, but they did play a great team in that game. Chris Davis is really good, but I think he's on roids, is my theory, but I have no evidence to prove that. They're great defensively. Great defensive team. Pitching could use some work at times, but I mean, overall, a solid team is what they are. And could they make a playoff run this year? I think it's possible. Colorado Rockies, they're a good team. They're solid. They show flashes of greatness, and with guys like Nolan Arenado, anything is possible. Of course, this team can make the playoffs, but do I think they're anything really special? No, and they just had to demote their best pitcher last year, Kyle Freeland. I just read about that. Who finished 4th in Cy Young last year. So that is interesting to see that stat. Arizona Diamondbacks, they're a fine team, solid all around. Again, I don't know too many of the players on that team. I do know some, but I don't want to talk about them and not know what I'm talking about. They're not a fascinating team. They traded Paul Goldschmidt. Has it worked? Debatable. I don't know what their core is right now. I would start tearing it down at the end of this season if they don't get anywhere. So that is the solid tier. The teams with potential. This is the potential tier. Could make a run, or I just really like their team and I would put them there. Let's talk about the teams that I really feel like could make a run. Phillies, Cubs, Red Sox, Braves, and Cleveland maybe. Phillies, I did a team focus on them. I'm not going to say too much about them. Great offense. Get better pitching, please. At times it looks weak, but at times they look like they have a lot of potential. Have some decent guys coming up from the minors. Great hitters. Bryce Harper really has to pick it up. He's in a terrible slump. Cubs. I did a team focus on them too. Again, I said I think what needed to be said. They could be a powerhouse at times, but also can be quite bad. Have a great rotation when you look at it on paper. I will see if Yu Darvish could actually pick it up for that team. So that is that team. Red Sox. Again, solid team this year. Have potential to make a run because they won a championship last year, but they're not what they were that last year. So we'll see what they are able to do and what adjustments they make. Atlanta Braves. Great team, great young players, great young core, great infield. Get better pitching. You'll be a top team for a long time. I forgot to put the Cardinals on this list. They're, again, a solid team that could really make a run at they're a solid team that can really make a run at a championship this year. I feel like if they click there, they could be able to do that, even though they're in kind of a bad place right now. The Cleveland Indians. Despite the edgy name, the Indians are one of my favorite teams in baseball because I just really like their core. If they pick it up, which I really want them to because they have a good rotation with Bauer and Kluber, and they have a good infield with Martinez and Lindor and all those guys, and they're just really fun to watch. And I kind of want them to go back to the World Series, and I want to see them win one. I would like that for the Cleveland fans. San Diego Padres, they're really on this list because I like them and they're a streaky team. I don't really think they can make a run, but I wanted to put them here instead of solid. Manny Machado's great. Better season than Bryce Harper so far. And you got guys like Tatis coming up, and you have other guys who also have plenty of potential coming up for them. So there's a lot to be excited about if I'm a Padres fan right now. White Sox on this list, I really like their core. Do I really think they're going to make a run? No. But in a couple of years, I think you're going to see a lot from them. Guys like Yohan Moncada are going to keep getting better and better. Tim Anderson's having a great season. So if they keep on improving like they did this year, in a couple of years they will make the playoffs. So those are the potential teams that are solid but can really make a run at something if they click. The championship teams, the champions tier, these are the teams that are top of the top, won't be touched this season. We'll start with the Yankees. I don't even know. This team has so many injuries, but they have such a good talent pool and such a big payroll that they're not going to fall because they're just that good, and I don't see anything bad happening to them. Good starting rotation, good bullpen, good team, good minor leagues, good everything, good system. It's crazy. They're one of the favorites to win it this year. Dodgers, insane season. We're going to have a team focus about them, so I'm not going to say anything about them. You're going to wait until the end of the episode to hear about that. Houston Astros, crazy team. One of the best teams in the majors. Great core. George Springer was having a crazy year. Bregman had a crazy year last year and is still being a superstar. Correa, not what some hoped him to be, but still has got a lot of potential. Great starting rotation. Good bullpen. All these teams are great all around, and there's not a knock on really any of these teams. Milwaukee Brewers, Christian Yelich, MVP candidate. Crazy good. Was really killing it at the beginning of the season. Slowed down a little, but is still having a monster year. Guys like Lorenzo Cain, Mike Moustakas, Jesus Aguilar, guys like that is why this team's so good, because they have Yelich, yes, but they also have really good supporting pieces and a really good bullpen with Josh Hader in it, the best relief pitcher in baseball. Minnesota Twins, look at their pieces. You look at them and you're like, really? The Twins? But if you really look deeper and really take a look at their roster, you can really see why. If they click, they can make a run. And do I think they're better than the teams on top of them? No, I don't. But I feel like they are a very interesting team as a championship contender. So that concludes our MLB tier list. That is every tier I made. That is all the MLB teams. So when we come back, we're going to be talking about RJ Barrett and his impact that he will bring to the NBA, and why I think he's going to be a star, and why I think Knicks fans should be happy if he does fall to them. Welcome back to TR Sports. RJ Barrett played at Duke this season for the college basketball season. He's projected as a top 3 pick. And I feel like he's a great player, and we're going to talk about some of his strengths and weaknesses and comparison, NBA comparison. So let's talk about RJ Barrett. He played with Duke again, and he played with the Big Two, is what I'm going to call it. A lot of people call it the Big Three, but Cameron Reddish wasn't that good in college, so I'm going to refer to the Duke guys, Zion and RJ, as the Big Two. RJ is a great player, and he reminds me of a lot of a guy that is able to slash and pass. And, an interesting story about RJ Barrett is his godfather is actually Steve Nash, and Steve Nash was a 2-time MVP, which is certainly interesting, which doesn't really say anything about him as a player, but is interesting to talk about. So do I think RJ Barrett is going to be very good? Yeah, I feel like he's going to be a star, and I feel like the Knicks are getting a great player. He is going to give the Knicks production. He's going to give them production when he comes in the NBA. He's not going to come in and be a slow player that it's going to take time to develop and make his way. No, I feel like he's going to go number 3 to the Knicks, play great, and be all rookie first team with some great stats. He's going to give you production immediately. He's able to shoot the ball at a decent. He's a decent shooter. He's got to work on his passing a little. In college, he only had like 4 assists, which can definitely be improved. And again, you see this with a lot of college players, but his decision making could also be a little bit improved. But he's good defensively. This is the thing. He's an all-around good player. He can do everything on the court. He can block shots. He can steal the ball. He can shoot the 3. He can do everything. He can slash. But if he really wants to be a point guard in the NBA, he's gonna have to work on some of that passing skills. I saw a lot of NBA comparisons for RJ Barrett. I saw a lot, and I like this comparison by NBA Draft.net. He is a lot like Danny Granger. He can shoot the 3, he can play defense, but he's not always making the great decisions, and he's not always hitting all those shots. But again, I think he's going to be RJ Barrett in the NBA? No, I feel like he's going to be a star. So he's got a lot of physical tools that will help him in the NBA, and again, he'll be productive off the bat is my prediction. So RJ Barrett, if I had to compare him to a player that I think he's going to be like have a similar career as, this is a tough one. I'm going to say DeMar DeRozan. Doesn't really play like DeMar DeRozan. I feel like is better than DeMar DeRozan. If I would rather have one or the other, but I feel like the Knicks are going to get a great player here that's going to give him production, that can play defense, that can shoot the ball. And really, he's got to improve on his passing, improve on some of his decision-making, and improve on his ball handling. And if he can do all of that, he will be an NBA star and could even be a superstar. That's what I think of RJ Barrett. So when we come back on TR Sports, we're going to round out the podcast with a team focus, and we're going to talk about the Los Angeles Dodgers and the crazy season Cody Bellinger is having this year. Welcome back to TR Sports. Let's get into our next segment now. It's time for Team Focus, as you guys can tell by that intro. The Los Angeles Dodgers, there's not a lot of flaws in this team, and they are really incredible. Guys like Cody Bellinger, who has 20 home runs in over a 14 WAR. This man's got a 16 WAR so far. That's crazy. He's putting up Babe Ruth type numbers right now. Will he slow down? He's gonna have to. But he is really killing it for the Dodgers right now. You got guys like Jock Peterson who are quietly having a career year with a good batting average and good homer numbers and good on base percentage. I could go on and on about great things about the Dodgers all day. But there are some issues with the Dodgers, and one of those happens to be the bullpen. The bullpen's blowing a lot of games. Kenley Jansen is not what he was a couple years ago, and I was never really a huge Kenley Jansen fan, and I never really understood it. But they're going to need to beef up the bullpen. I saw an article talking about they should get a guy from Washington like Sean Doolittle who can provide great bullpen help for the Dodgers. The Dodgers are incredible because every year they get a new star. There's no other team that I feel gets a new star every year. Last year it was Manny Machado and Mike Muncy. Max Muncy, I mean. This year it's Corey Seager's back and Bellinger's suddenly a star again. The team's so stacked, and if they kept Manny Machado, you can only imagine what this team would have been. But they're crazy. They're one of the favorites to win the championship. Probably the best team in the NL. I don't think you can get much better than this Dodgers team. If someone can tell me how the Phillies or a team that I root for can become the Dodgers, please tell me, because this team is almost perfect on every level. Of course, they were in the World Series the past 2 years. Blew it. They blew it against the Red Sox and the Astros. So we'll see if they blow it again this year. Do I think that's going to happen? Not really. I feel like this Dodger team is a little different than ones of past just because of Cody Bellinger's incredible play. And Bellinger's not just good in hitting the ball. He can also field. He has had some crazy fielding plays from the outfield, and it's the Dodgers are also a very entertaining team to watch. And when everyone's clicking, and when Justin Turner's hitting homers, and when Cody Bellinger's hitting homers, and Corey Seager's hitting homers, and Max Muncy's hitting homers, and all these guys are clicking, they're a great, great team. So what is my grade? What letter grade do I give the Dodgers as a team? I got to give them an A+. You cannot get better than this Dodger team. If they improve the bullpen, if they get a guy like Sean Doolittle, I will be blown away. I will be blown away because this team is already an A+. And if they get another piece like him, it just won't be fair. The only team that I really feel like is on the Dodgers level healthy is the New York Yankees. Other than that, there's no team that I really see is on the Dodgers level. So that concludes our team focus and the podcast. This one was over 40 minutes, which is a long one. But hope you guys enjoyed. Only a couple more for some of you guys. So only a couple more weeks and days till school ends, and then we can go out, and then it's going to be summertime. And lots of baseball to cover. I do want to announce something now instead of forgetting about it later. I will be taking 2 weeks off in July because I will be traveling, and I'm already going to create a podcast when I'm traveling one of the weeks. But for the 2 weeks in July, which I don't have the dates yet, I will be taking a break from the podcast. But we still have a while until then. I just want to say it now, so if I forget to later, I can point you guys back to this video. So thank you guys so much for watching. I feel like quality is getting better every podcast, and I'm getting better every podcast myself. And we're also getting more viewership every podcast. So I hope you all enjoyed. And this was TR Sports. I'm your host, Toby, and I'll see you